Good evening, everyone, and welcome to The Pulse. I'm Keanna Faircloth, host of Afternoon Jazz on WBGO, of course, every day, Monday through Friday, 4 to 8. I'm excited. Y'all know, I'm always excited about my guests that I have on The Pulse. Today, this is the first time we're actually meeting in person, but I feel like I have been a fan for quite a while. I don't know if she knows this, but Miss Madison McFerrin is here, singer-songwriter, Brooklyn-based, and she is the co-curator of this year's BRIC Jazz Fest. So we're going to talk all about this woman here and what she's doing with BRIC. And imagine, I just want you to imagine for a second being called an oasis of serenity. Wow. That's what they call her. I would add an oasis of serenity with a little bit of splash of sass. That's Madison McFerrin.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Hey Madison, welcome.
Thank you for having me. How you doing?
Good. You so chilled in your.
I just came out from a workout class, so the endorphins are still here. I'm relaxed. I'm doing the thing.
I love it. Let that rub off on me here. Thank you. I feel all the vibes. But let's get started here. I wore my Who All Gonna Be There shirt
Hey.
today because you're gonna tell us who all gonna be there at BRIC Jazz Fest, which starts tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow night. Wow, I can't believe it's already here. I feel like
Yeah.
I was just starting the conversation with them a week ago, but time is wild. Let's see who is there. Sun Ra Orchestra,
Nice.
Cecile McLaurin Savant, Yasser Tejeda, Lorraine, Stas the Boss, Linda Diaz, myself. Nice. There's going to be a jam session MD'd by Louis Cato, who he's in the Bear Band with John Baptiste and is a dear, dear friend of mine and literally knows every single person in the music industry. I don't understand how it's possible.
He's killing.
Oh yeah, but it's gonna be a really great couple nights. I'm really excited.
Wow, I'm curious to know like how the process of co-curating this event went because you're having like a wide range of artists. You always do, BRIC Jazz Fest does, but this time I feel like you've got, your Kurt Ellings and you've got your Linda Diaz, who folks may not be familiar with just yet. She, of course, won the Tiny Desk at home, killing vocalist. But how did you help? What was your role in bringing together all this varied talent?
Well, thankfully, Bryce and Leah, who are at BRIC, they're friends of mine. And so it really was just about having a couple lunches and like talking about people that we're really interested in. We definitely wanted to make sure that this was going to be a jazz fest that really showed the range of jazz because jazz isn't just one thing. If anything, jazz is the roots of all modern popular music for sure. And so we wanted to really pay homage to just the diversity of jazz, both in sound and in generation, in style, in race. We really just wanted to show that one, jazz is still very alive and it looks and sounds a lot of different ways. And there's a lot of really awesome stuff happening right now. And we wanted to make sure that that was reflected.
Indeed, especially coming out of this panorama, as I like to call it. We've been starved.
Yes, absolutely.
For music, and BRIC has changed in a number of ways. Even the last BRIC Jazz Fest, which was virtual, there was no audience. So this is going to be the first time folks are actually going to be in the house.
Yeah.
And I know vaccination cards are a requirement. We should say that.
Yes, for sure. This is actually it's going to be my first indoor show in New York. I just had my very first indoor shows actually in the Czech Republic just last week.
Wow.
So this is just really starting to get back into the swing of things. But I think the fact that BRIC is taking so many precautions to make sure that everybody is safe I think that just makes it that much more enjoyable so that we can all kind of relax and just enjoy the music.
Indeed. So you just got back from Czech Republic. That's amazing.
Yes, my body is very turned around, but
It's going to take a while, I'm sure.
yeah, I never thought that I would miss a plane or that I would miss like crowded airports. It's kind of strange to be somewhat back in the swing of things. Although I'm not a fan of long plane rides with the mask on, but I'm gonna do what I gotta do to stay safe,
Right, indeed. You've been staying, it seems like you've been, keeping yourself creatively occupied even throughout the pandemic. I'm loving Dream, by the way.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Tell me about that.
About staying creative or that song?
Yeah, about staying creative.
Well, so 2019, prior to the panorama, I was on the road the majority of the year. I think I went to Europe 8 times in 2019 alone.
Wow.
I was just not in the house much, except for January and February of 2020 were like my first 2 months off. And then, of course, we all know what happened with the rest of the months after that.
Yeah.
And so it was the first time that I was really forced to be home in my space in a while, which of course was welcome at first and then started getting a little, we all got stir crazy. I'm still a bit stir crazy.
Yeah.
And it, live shows for me personally, and I know for a lot of musicians, particularly performers, that's a source of energy for us. It's a source of spirituality for us. So to not be having that was and still is very difficult. But, just had to make sure that there was a way to channel that creativity into other ways and channel that spirituality into other ways. The biggest thing for me was definitely learning how to produce. I think that was definitely the biggest silver lining of COVID for myself, just because I finally had an opportunity to sit down with, equipment and gear that I've had for a little bit of time, but just never had enough time to sit down with it and get over the learning curves of what it means to really try at something and fail at something and, try and figure things out. And like, I would still very much consider myself a novice in production, but I feel much more comfortable in it. I mean, I last year released the very first song that featured my own production as a single. So that was a really big step for me. The other resource for creativity for me has definitely been cooking as well. That's, for sure. So, you just gotta, I've been doing my best to stay creative and, just not get so bogged down with the heaviness of this moment, because this moment is unlike anything any of us have really lived through. So just doing things to help keep my spirit up. Like I said, I just finished working out. That's a big one. I was working out at home mostly. I just started going back to the space that I was going to before, and only because it's small and they require vaccination to go in and stuff like that. So, slowly creeping back into what my normal mode of creativity was. But I'm really grateful to have gained some new skills in this moment.
Yeah, I think we all were forced to, which is, a blessing and a curse, because now it seems like a lot of us are busier than ever and just kind of pulled in so many different directions. But it's always good to get other skills under your belt. Did you lean on your brother Taylor at all for production help in learning how to produce?
He's definitely, I literally just had a phone call with him today about trying to figure out like specifics about gear. I'll ask him like little tiny questions if there are things that that come up, but also, YouTubeversity, as they call it. Got to look certain things up because he actually just became a father. So I'm not trying to hit him up all the time because I know that he is a little occupied with my new little nephew. But I also have a lot of other friends that I went to college with who also use the same programs that I do. I'm really grateful to have a a myriad of people to call upon to just say like, hey, I need some help. Like, do you have time for me to ask you what I think is potentially a quick question, or something that I think is maybe even more complicated than it turns out that it's like 3 buttons that I have to push.
You know, it's funny because I'm sure people always ask you about you being sort of this legacy, I guess, in jazz. Of course, your dad, NEA jazz master now, Bobby McFerrin.
Mhm.
Do you get sick of people asking you about your connection to the music and how you sort of have shaped yourself into your own sound?
I mean, I think it varies. Sometimes I mostly get annoyed when people ask me the same questions, um,
Hmm.
because especially since it's something where it's like you could Google that and
I
probably
can
have the
imagine.
answer. And then there are some folks who like have really in-depth questions that make me think about my own connection, um, to my father and his music, and even his parents. Just continuing on with the legacy of what it means to be a musician and a singer in particular. There are always some cool things that come up. Like, for example, in my second show in Prague that I just had, a woman came up to me because her colleague made a statue of my dad after seeing him at a
Wow.
jazz fest in Bratislava in 1986. And he's an artist, but that's like the last sculpture he ever made. And I felt such a deep connection to it because this particular performance happened before I was born, but it's on YouTube. And for me, it's like the most perfect vocal performance ever by
Mhm.
anyone. And like, granted, I'm biased, but it's like, it's one of those things where sometimes when I'm like, I need to practice,
Yeah.
I'll watch this particular performance. So the fact that this woman came with, this stuff from her colleague who like that was the last time he had seen my dad, and that inspired him to make the last sculpture that he made type.
Wow.
Just those kind of connections are always really fun and interesting. And you know, I also really love my dad. It would be different if he was not a good person and I didn't
Um,
like him.
are you
But
a daddy's girl?
I mean it, yes and no. I mean, I love both of my parents very much. I think if you asked me when I was like 5, 100%,
Yeah.
100% daddy's girl. But I mean, I'm always a daddy's girl at heart. I love my parents very much, so I'm very lucky in that regard.
I can tell. I can tell by your Instagram. Do you ever ask your dad for any advice or anything?
Oh, for sure, 100%. I mean, that would be, as somebody who's a vocalist and particularly somebody who's trying to really be known for like my vocal harmony. I have no better resource. So I was just with my parents a couple weeks ago in California, and I played my dad some demos because I wanted to get his advice. He really helps me out with a lot of vocal arrangement stuff. He
Nice.
helped me a lot with Insane in particular is one song where like he really helped school me on like when I should take parts out, when they should come back in. Um, but yeah, I
Ooh,
ask for his advice all the time. I
that's cool.
probably should have asked for it more when I was a kid.
Oh, it's funny though because I was talking to China Moses and she's saying the opposite. Her mom actually doesn't really want to give her advice, and it's because she wants her to totally just be her and not try to like copy or imitate her
Mhm.
in any way. She'll give little tidbits here and there, but she, doesn't really, force herself on her.
Well, see, that's the thing. I wouldn't say that my dad, like, doles out advice. He'll give it to
Only
you if
when
you
you
ask.
ask.
Yeah, if you ask for it, he'll give it to you. But, um, that was a lesson I had to learn later in life because, some people, they just, like, give you all the information, and he was not that kind of person. But now that I'm more comfortable with myself and more comfortable just like asking for help from anybody in general, it's like, why not ask my dad? I know he loves me. So he'll be honest with me. He'll tell me if he doesn't think something sounds good. So
Good.
if he doesn't think it sounds good, then like I will trust his ear. His ear and his judgment are pretty good. So
Oh yeah.
I'll take it.
What's funny? I went to Howard University and I used to sing with this group called Afro Blue, and we did a concert with your dad one time.
Oh,
And let me
nice.
tell you how that kicked my butt. Like, I have never in my life sung music that was so difficult. We sang from vocabularies.
Oh, wow.
And I have never learned so much in a short amount of time. My mind was completely blown. Like, really, I was exhausted.
Yeah, those arrangements in particular are a doozy for sure.
My God. Wow. How do you feel when you released Guilty? Because when I tell you that is a bop, and I shared that thing all over the place. I was like,
I appreciate it.
it's guilty, it's guilty. How do you feel when you released that?
The thing that like the little snippet or like the whole song?
The whole song.
The whole song was pretty fun. That's another example of me releasing a song that's my own production. And, it was just something that I literally made it in like 10 minutes and just thought that it was going to be that. And then only ended up making it a song because people wanted it. And so that was just an example of like doing something that wasn't necessarily what I thought. Like, I'm not a house producer. And here I go, like making a house track.
Yes,
so
it was a bop. And I think it was like celebratory at the same time because we really wanted justice for George Floyd.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, that was one of the biggest parts for me where, after I released just the little video clip, the amount of messages I got from people just saying how much joy it brought them. That was the main reason why I ended up making it a full song, because I just got an abundance of feedback from folks just saying that, they were putting it on first thing in the morning because it was making them happy, or like parents that were saying that they don't usually let their small children listen to songs that have curse words in them, but like this was an exception because like such a happy moment. That video got seen like over 1 million times.
Wow.
And it's collectively between the multiple platforms. And, I could probably count on one hand the amount of negative comments I got about it. And I think that that's really just a testament to the fact that people really got a lot of joy out of it. Like, it was really something that made people feel happy. And it's unfortunate that we had to have this moment to feel some kind of release, to feel like we shouldn't have to feel joy because somebody is being convicted. And unfortunately, because of the fact that so few people get justice and so few assailants are held accountable, it's really a shame that we have to like be happy about this. But I'm just happy. I'm glad that
justice be served. Like,
exactly. I'm just grateful that like I could be a part of facilitating joy in that moment.
Indeed. Are we going to hear that BRIC Jazz Fest when you perform? What's on your set list? Can you tell us?
No, I'm not going to tell you my set list. That's like,
I'm just kidding.
Like, surprise.
I'm just kidding. I know you aren't going to tell us. But if you're just tuning in, I'm chatting with the one and only Madison McFerrin. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put it in the comment section there. We have one here from Leroy Lindsay. He says, recently he learned that Robert McFerrin was the first African-American man to sing at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City as we celebrate Shut Up in My Bones, Fire Shut Up in My Bones, the first opera as a Black composer to show at the Met Opera. Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool. I don't think I knew that.
Yes, he is. He was the first African American man to sing at the Met, and he was also the first African American period to sign a contract at the Met. So
Oh,
some serious Black history there. He was supposed to be the first African American to sing at the Met, um, but they gave the honor to Marian Anderson because she had been in the game for a long time, and so
yeah.
it was more like as an honor to her to be like, okay, we're going to postpone your singing for like 3 weeks so that she can be the first one.
Wow. That's interesting. That is so interesting and so cool that you come from that sort of history. Your entire family, really, your siblings, all talented. I think I saw your brother Javon on 20s. Did I see him
Yes,
on?
he is on 20s.
Yeah, I was like,
He
wait.
plays Chuck. He plays Chuck on 20s. It's really fun to see him on the screen. It's kind of, he's been on Broadway for a number of years, so I've
Yeah.
seen him on stage several times, but to see him on my projector screen is like, wow, that's my big brother.
Aw.
Yeah.
Do you guys keep each other encouraged? Like, what is your relationship like as siblings?
All three of us are super close. Taylor and Javon are quite a bit older than me. They're 6.5 and 10.5 years older than me, but we've managed to stay close our whole lives. I think we came from a really loving family, and we like to be there for one another and encourage one another. And I always know that my brothers have my back no matter what, unless I was doing something really, really stupid. And then they would tell me that it was really, really stupid. And then I would probably have to listen to them. So
Yeah, that's so cool. So when you call Taylor for advice on production, he's not irritated with you ever.
I don't think he's irritated. I think if I was, asking him a question that he probably thought I could figure out for myself, maybe. But I think at the end of the day, we all know that we love each other and we're just trying to help.
That's cool. So Madison McFerrin, co-curator of this year's BRIC Jazz Fest. Tell us once again who we can expect in the lineup, any juiciness that you could tell us about BRIC, about you.
You can expect me, Lorraine. You can expect, I can't believe that Sun Ra Orchestra is
Right.
about to perform. Like, I am so excited. Last time I saw them was they opened up for Solange at Radio City.
Nice.
This was during Seat of the Table, so this was a number of years ago. But that is probably the show that I'm really ready to be like right there with it.
Indeed. What's next for you after this?
I'm working on an album, debut album. So I'm really just, writing. I literally wrote a song today. I was very excited.
Cool.
Things are moving, things are trucking along. But yeah, I'm mostly trying to keep my head down and focus on that.
Yeah. You have a release date in mind yet?
TBD, but in 2022.
Nice. Well, we are certainly looking forward to that. I hope you can come back and talk about it.
I hope I can too. I would love to.
Yeah, that would be cool. Jay Foster, guitarist, says, so glad you got Madison on the show. Saw her with Hiatus Coyote
Hey.
and Emily King.
Oh my God.
At the North Star.
That is a throwback show. That was with my band in college, Cosmodrome. Shout out to them.
Wow.
And I used to have a music review blog in college, and I reviewed Hiatus's first EP, Talk Tomahawk, and I was like the only US reviewer or something.
Really? Oh, that album was killing.
And I hit up all of them on Facebook, and they only had like 600 likes on Facebook. And the first time Nay came to the States to like meet up with her manager out here, I like went and got coffee with them, and then I shared their music with Questlove, and it like turned into a thing. So that was a really exciting show to like open up for. And then during Emily King's set, my brother Taylor proposed to his now wife. So it was
wow.
that was a very special show.
That's amazing. You got in on the ground floor on that top tomahawk.
That is one of those things where it's like, I knew these people first. Like, I can very confidently say that.
Yeah. I know Questlove, he knows great music. He calls you Soul Appella. That's how he describes your music.
Yeah.
I know that's that's always dope when Questlove, puts a stamp on you.
Yeah. He is an amazing human being, and I love him very much as a person, a friend, and as a musician. So all of the things. If you haven't seen Summer of Soul, to anybody out there, I don't know what you're doing. You should.
Right. Incredible. Well, Madison, thank you so much for joining me on the Pulse.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, I need you to tell people, I never assume that people know where to find you, and
that's a good thing.
Tickets to BRIC Jazz Fest and all that. Give them all that information.
All right, let's see. You can find me on all of the social media platforms at Mad McFerrin. That's MADMCFERRIN. Not Madison McFerrin. She is a teenager in Wisconsin. Yeah, get all of her Google alerts. She's on the basketball team. So shout out to her. I hope that she doesn't get a lot of random requests from people who are looking for me. You can buy my music on Bandcamp. Bandcamp has been like the #1 lifesaver during the panorama. If you want to support music, particularly independent music, not just my own, but any musicians that you like, see if they have a Bandcamp. That's a really amazing resource in these really, wild times. But there's a link in the bio on my Instagram that has like all of the important things. So
cool.
Pick that up.
Yeah, and definitely check out Guilty and Dream, which is Gorgeous new single, which you can find actually on the Pulse's Spotify playlist.
Dope.
Madison is there.
And also, if you stream Guilty, we set up a fund. So anytime you stream, 50% of the proceeds go directly to the Mad Love Fund, which we have set up to be able to bring joy and justice to communities that have been impacted by police brutality. So put it on your playlists, stream it. You're listening to something that's giving back to a good cause.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. The gift that keeps on giving, you are.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Madison. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
I will be there.
All right.
We'll have to rub elbows.
Definitely.
All right. Take care, and congratulations once again on being co-curator for this amazing lineup of a festival.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
You're welcome. Take care.
Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye. And thank you all so much for joining me on this episode of The Pulse. I'm Keanna Faircloth. I'll see you on the radio Monday through Friday on Afternoon Jazz, 4 to 8 p.m. And join me for the next episode of The Pulse, November 10th. I'll sit down and talk to the finalists of this year's Sarah Vaughan International Jazz Vocal Competition at NJPAC, which is taking place on November 14th. So until next time, thank you so much for watching The Pulse. I'll see you next time. Good night.